Hello, everyone. You're listening to Northern Flights, a Park Pro podcast keeping you up to date with the people, tournaments, and culture of disc golf in Canada and beyond. Consider becoming a Patreon today at patreon.com/parkpro. Find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by DiscGolfPark. And now your hosts, Andre, Jesse, and Matt.
Or
hello.
is it?
Hello, everyone. It's just Matt and Andre here. Jesse couldn't make it. He's, if you've been listening, he's started up his school time and, he's learning stuff. So he's a little busy with that. And, that's totally understandable. So.
Nerd.
Yeah, so it's just Matt and I for the day. And first of all, I would like to apologize because I am the reason we didn't have an episode last week. You can kind of hear it in my voice a little bit still here. We had a nasty flu run through the house, and it was one of those ones where I was in bed for a day and a half. It was pretty bad. And then that turned into bronchitis. So still dealing with that a little bit. So I apologize if you hear a little bit of coughing here and there. It's either me or my wife in the background. So yeah, it's been a rough go.
Yeah, that sucks. It's we went through 3 years of pandemic, and people didn't, aside from COVID, people didn't get sick too much. So it's all these colds and flus. It's we're not used to getting sick in the normal ways again, and it sucks when it happens.
Yeah, exactly. The nice thing for me is I had the NyQuil and the cough syrup, so I managed pretty well with those. But of course, with the little one, Kelsey's not able to take any of that stuff, so it's been a little rough on her. Luckily, Juniper didn't get sick, so we got away with one there, I think. Yeah,
knock on wood.
Yeah, so far. All right, but that's enough about me and this flu. But let's get into what we're going to talk about today. So, it's been a while, and so obviously we have last weekend we had the Foxwood, which was the Canadian Disc Golf Tour stop number 2. So that happened last week. If you're not worried about spoilers, go check out those scores. We're going to try not to spoil it, but we might do so a little bit later, but we'll warn you. And the reason for that is, we have a very special guest coming on later on in the show. One Thomas Gilbert will be joining us at some point. He's just finishing up his practice round. He's down playing in the silver event down in Washington. So he's finished his practice round. He's going to get settled in, and then he's going to hop on. So we'll have him a little bit later. Got a recap on a couple of other Canadian tournaments. And we have OTB recap. We didn't talk about OTB. We have Beaver State Fling recap, and just maybe some other Canadian news that's going on. But before all that, how's your week been in disc golf there, Matt?
Well, I got a little bit of disc golf in. I've been
Nice.
Sitting behind the editing box a bunch. We got TCO is just about ready to go, so that was a load off once I kind of handed that off for the final prep. And then I got to play a couple of rounds at Bailey's Crossing, which is the newish private course just outside of Edmonton. And it was one of the times I went, it was still very smoky because of the forest fires, and it sort of gave it a weird, eerie glow. And that was great. And then played again after the smoke had cleared, and it was just beautiful. I like a good private course.
Yeah.
You go out there and there's nobody out there, maybe one or two groups on the whole course, and you're just walking around this private property. It's a really nice course. They updated a couple of the holes. It's just so happy to have it. And I live on the south side of Edmonton, so it's closer to me. So it's really nice.
I was going to ask that because that's one of those courses that, it's kind of on my list as one of those courses I want to play the next time I'm up in Edmonton. How far away is it for regular commute from Edmonton?
Yeah, it depends on where you live in Edmonton. But for me, I live on the south side, and it's 25-30 minutes.
That's
which
pretty
is
good.
The same as driving to Rundle Park. So
yeah, that's not bad at all. I was thinking about that. We're pretty lucky where we are to have as many courses, within a half hour to 45 minutes, and not just like not just regular courses, they're quality courses. And the beauty of where we are is there's like no one here. I was thinking about what it would be like to live in Calgary or Edmonton, and you have all these disc golfers. You hear about how busy Baker Park is, and I'm sure Rundle's the same way. It's it gets busy out there. We're pretty lucky to not have that. So it's, obviously to have a private course like that. And does it cost money to play?
Yeah, it's $10 a round, or I believe $75 a year right now.
Well, that's pretty good
for me, because I live nearby. It's kind of a no-brainer. $75 to not have to wait behind groups of shirtless dude bros at Rumble Park. I'm all in on that.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of talked about it a little bit on previous podcasts. That seems to be the way that disc golf is trending nowadays, is getting into these private courses where you have to start booking tee times and whatnot. Maybe not necessarily tee times, but in some locations. But I feel like it's going to get to that point. I feel like they're at that point in a lot of places down in the States. Yeah. And as these courses get more and more popular, you look at Bailey's Crossing. I've heard a lot about it. I'm not from Edmonton, so you have to think that it's going to get more and more popular, and they're going to have to introduce stuff like that. So
I think it will. The good thing is, and I'm not trying to be a snob, but the people that are willing to pay $10 a round or $75 for a year are generally people that play a lot of disc golf and take it seriously. So even if it is busy, you're not, waiting behind beginners, which is no offense to beginners. And I was a beginner, and everybody that starts as a beginner, and it's just part of it. But it is 50 people out on the course. If they're all experienced disc golfers, is a different thing than 50 people out on the course if it's just casual recreational players.
Yeah,
which again, not judging. Love it.
And
we need
it's
more.
Not necessarily just that it takes a little bit longer because there's more throws involved, but also just etiquette, playthrough etiquette and stuff like that. A lot of these new players don't know all that kind of stuff. So
you're just not used to it's going to be my turn next. I'm going to start thinking about my shot. You're just not used to it.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Yeah, very cool. I have my playing has been reduced to almost nothing just because of the flu and whatnot. But as you kind of alluded to earlier, like for you and I, it's disc golf almost every single day because we're busy editing the TCO, and pretty soon we'll be getting into the Foxwood. So it's pretty fun, but I got the
turns out it's a lot of work, Andre. Hey.
yeah, exactly. I got the basket behind me here, so I have been able to get a couple putts in here and there, and that's kind of where I'm trying to focus my game anyway. So
nice.
I am playing this weekend though. I'm playing down in the Fernie tourney. It's one of the rare times I'll be able to play in a tournament. Luckily it's just a 1-day event, and that's why I figured I could get down there and play. It's a couple hours of worth of a drive, but it'd be awesome.
I love that. I love that course.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
Yeah.
And
I also
really well run event as well. I've heard nothing but good things.
I imagine.
And obviously Surge knows how to run a tournament. So
get to a Surge tournament if you get a chance. I was going to say, I also got to be one of those beginner groups. I took 3 of my friends out who had never played, and took them to the little 9-hole pitch and putt course at the Hills, or the Hill, depending on if you want to be factually accurate about how many hills there are. And I got a disc from TCO, has already changed hands twice. So this the TCO circle of giving gives on. So one of my friends who was playing in the amateur division gifted me a Warden that he got in the players pack because he didn't like the feel of it, and I'd given him a whole bunch of discs. So and it was a sweet Warden. I don't know what does DD call their Halo plastic.
Yeah, it's like Orbit or something like that. Yeah.
Anyway, it was this really cool Orbit Warden with a nice TCO stamp on it, and it was gifted to me. And then I brought it out because I wanted to try it out. And then one of the 3 people that I was kind of taking around the course didn't have any discs, so gave it to them. And
well, there you go.
Yeah,
that's
one day
that's a good
maybe they'll watch some TCO coverage and be like, "Wait, that logo looks familiar."
Yeah, there you
Not
go.
on that weird
Yeah.
disc. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed giving my old discs to people to try out. And, if you've got discs, better chance you're going to get out and play one day.
Oh, totally. Exactly. I mean, it's kind of one of the reasons I always try to keep an extra putter or two, or, a disc that I don't necessarily use a whole bunch, but I always try to keep at least one or two in my bag for exactly that reason. You can go out to a course and see someone that looks like they're new or they're playing with an ultimate disc or something, just kind of help educate them a little bit. And hopefully they get hooked and, that's how we help the sport grow. So.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Also, big news this week, Andre. We didn't even put it in the podcast episode right up here, but we were featured on PDGA Radio with Grant Zellner and Jennifer Allen. And holy cow, I don't know about you, but that was a major thrill for me.
That was amazing. And it's one of those things. It's actually kind of funny how that came about, because it was I was hoping to talk it up and whatever. And, our social media department for Instagram and whatnot, that's, you're looking at him here. If you're on YouTube, it's this guy.
That guy had the flu.
Yeah, that guy had the flu. So I didn't get to push it out nearly as much as I wanted to, but that was awesome. And I'm so glad that, a few people listened to it and they managed to share it on Facebook. And, if you don't know much about the Canadian Disc Golf Tour, if you're still not clear on a whole bunch, which we will have more and more information coming out as the tournaments and whatnot roll on, but that's a good place to start. It's a good, good way to get a basic understanding of what we're trying to build and what we're trying to do. So definitely go check that out. It's PDGA Radio. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. And yeah, that was such a blast. Also, we're going to get into it a little bit later, but podcast bump much
still in effect.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Of course, Jen Allen hosts that with Grant Zellner. So if you are unaware, then here's a little preview of our recap coming up. Jen Allen won the Beaver State Fling.
First Pro Tour victory.
Insane. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, it was very cool. And you'll be even more impressed when you listen to the PDGA Radio. Or did she even mention that? Was that mentioned? She had an incident with a deer on the road ahead of the tournament. That might have only been discussed before we were on the air. But smashed a deer on her way down to it and then still took home the win.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So
well, let's say we'll save it for the official recap. Before that, let's talk a little bit about Foxwood. It's one of those interesting ones. It's part of the Canadian Disc Golf Tour. It's part of our coverage plan, but neither Matt and I were there. And that's because there's an amazing club out there in the, the Waterloo, Kitchener region, the Grand River Disc Golf Club
Association.
They do a fantastic job. They've done a fantastic job in the past, and so they have all the footage. They're going to get all the footage to us. We had Vicky from Park Pro. She's someone that we sent down there to
our second camera operator superstar. We had Sean Lefebvre out at TCO, and now we got Vicky Young helping us out on the eastern half of the country.
Yeah. So we're very excited to get to editing that, because it's going to be interesting. That's one of the interesting things is that, Matt and I, we obviously kept track of the scores, but neither of us saw any of what actually happened and how it transpired. I heard it was a little weathery leading up to the tournament. I don't know if it calmed down, but
it sounds like round 1 was pretty weathery, and then it calmed down for round 2 and 3.
Interesting. Cool. I'm
windy,
very excited.
Though. I think winds are a factor always in Baden, Ontario.
Right.
Because it was last year's coverage was pretty windy, and it sounds like there was some good winds out there again this year.
Yeah.
So if you like watching windy disc golf, we got a treat for you.
There you go. So definitely stay tuned to our social channels and obviously keep listening to the podcast for when we come up with coverage from that. I'm really looking forward to editing that. And on that note, we may as well announce it now. The TCO coverage, we are finalizing everything. We're getting ready for commentary this weekend, and it looks like we're going to start releasing as of right now, it's planned for Monday. So we're going to have round 1 MPO on Monday, round 2 MPO on Tuesday. Then we're going to have the bonus, the FPO final round. That's going to be happening. That's going to release on Wednesday. And then the final round of MPO will be on Thursday. So that's, as of right now, that is our schedule. We still have to get commentary going on. Jesse and I are going to be the commentary team on this one. And then we have a couple of special guests for the FPO. So very excited to release that coverage when it comes out.
We are going to share the ever-loving heck out of that coverage when it comes out. And I'm so proud of how it looks, how it sounds. I think it's at the level, the quality that we were kind of hoping when we were envisioning this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it is going to be a real treat. And the rounds themselves were so exciting. The final round was, I was enjoying it, editing it, even though I had watched the whole thing one time already. And just, yeah, it was electric. The final round was absolutely electric. We couldn't have asked for a better first tournament to the tour.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited for that coverage to come out. I'm sure all of our listeners are as well. So keep an eye out. And hey, if you know someone that might be interested in watching, let them know that it's coming out next week. It's gonna be a blast. So, and who knows? It's one of those things. Live on air discussion between Matt and I. I was thinking about maybe doing like a premiere for the final rounds. Maybe, you know how you can do that on YouTube, and you can have the live chat going and whatnot, and then we can answer questions as they come up.
Sure.
I think it's not a bad idea.
Heck yeah.
But
enjoy
right.
it live with everybody.
There you go. So we'll you heard it here. Final round MPO will be a YouTube premiere style. So we will be answering questions and go from there. We'll test it out and see how it goes.
Yeah.
On that note, I mean, if you think about how long it's taken us to edit this, I mean, obviously it's, we kind of told tournaments that we kind of have about a month turnaround, and a lot of that is just due to the fact that Matt and I both work full time outside of doing this as well. So that kind of, we figured month would be, enough time to make sure that we got the quality up. We are hoping that Foxwood and, as Foxwood and these tournaments kind of start stacking onto each other, that we get a little bit faster with this all. And, this is kind of the first one of the Canadian Disc Golf Tour. So we wanted to make sure it's great. And then we are hoping that we can get them out sooner for you guys. So we are looking at that 4-week turnaround as of right now. And hopefully that gets faster as the year goes on. Yeah,
absolutely.
Cool. All right. What else do we have? Okay, let's talk about some Canadian tournaments that we didn't get a chance to talk about. So we will start with. Well, actually, before we get to that, we also the Foxwood. Just one more note on Foxwood. We will have Adam Hussey, who is one of the organizers for the tournament. He's going to be on next week's show, so he'll kind of chat a little bit about that tournament. We always like to add, value to these tournaments and so that they can get their tournaments out there. And, hopefully next year we can get some people, more and more people sign up and make these tournaments even bigger. So, yeah. So Adam's coming on next week to talk about that. And, so we had some Canadian B tiers that came up 2 weeks ago. We had the Lethbridge, the spring runoff in Lethbridge. Yeah. It was, it looked like it was a doozy. This is, of course, one that we had single camera coverage of from last year. If you haven't checked that out, you can check that out on our YouTube channel. And, I don't know. You want to take it away?
Yeah, well, it wasn't real close. Casey Hannemeyer, who I feel like his game is pretty well suited to all of those courses.
Yes.
He shot in order a 1042 rated round, followed by a 1058 rated round, followed by, he just kind of walked it in on the final round because he was up by a million strokes, and 1009 rated final round. Pretty pedestrian. So didn't even shoot the hot round on the final round. But you know what? He didn't need it. won by 13 strokes over Park Pro favorite TK Thomas Kuhn.
Thomas Kuhn.
Yeah.
There you go.
Bringing it in with a -17 to come in second place. So beating Noah Higgins, local favorite, and Connor Michelson by 1 stroke. And Ben Loggins, who you've seen and heard on the channel, I guess just heard.
Yeah.
He was in 5th place. So good showing. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome to see.
Elijah Isaac took home the MP40, I think, on one of the last holes. He had an exciting battle with Mike Stoddard, former East Coast guy, turned into Alberta guy, turned back into East Coast guy. So he was back in this side of the country for some tournaments. So he had a very exciting battle. MPO did not exist for this tournament.
FPO did not exist.
FPO, sorry. FPO, they did not have an FPO division for the spring runoff, which is kind of a bummer. But
yeah, that's too bad. It really is too bad. And I'm really curious how we can get more women into sort of that next level of play. I do think I think I know the reason. The reason is because that was the weekend of the Canadian women's event. So all the FPO players were probably in their respective cities.
Yes.
Competing in their own.
I believe that is right. Yeah. But the big but there is 2 players in FA4, 6 players in FA3, 4 players in FA2, and 3 players in FA1. So there was decent numbers of female players at the tournament. It was just the professional open players weren't there. But Nyla Knodel, apologies for the mispronunciation there, took home FA1. So she was the top woman for the weekend.
Yes, that's awesome to see. And yeah, like I mean, it all kind of makes sense now. And when you take that into account, that it was the Canadian Women's event, in all these other places, this is usually a tournament that you see a lot of ladies from Cranbrook, and as far west as Cranbrook and Creston, and the even the East Kootenays kind of thing. They like to travel to this tournament, and then you got your like Edmonton had a Canadian Women's event. Calgary,
she's up first, run by Kristen Swirls up here.
Yeah,
looks like it was very well attended.
Yeah, it actually looked really, really great. So, and Christy obviously put the one on in Cranbrook as well. So, and I think Calgary had one too. I'm not sure what it was called, but I do believe they had one as well. So, with that in mind, it's it is kind of nice to see that there was at least a little bit of attendance here, because you got to think those are mostly all locals, and possibly a couple from Calgary. So,
I would imagine.
Yeah. So, I mean, big shout out to Noah and his mom, Rebecca, because,
mostly Rebecca.
Mostly Rebecca. Really. Rebecca's amazing. She puts on a great tournament every single year. She's been a staple in the Alberta disc golf scene for a long time. So, I mean, congrats to her for putting on a great tournament, and congrats to all the winners.
Yeah, everything's always smooth at the spring runoff. There's never any hiccups. The courses are always in really good shape. 10 out of 10.
Totally.
And then the following week, we had the Night Owl. The 17th annual Night Owl was supposed to be in Drayton Valley, which is about an hour and a half southwest of Edmonton. It's kind of in a valley, as you can imagine. Beautiful place, beautiful course at a Nordic center. Not quite the same up and down as the Canmore Nordic Center, but you sort of get the idea of fairways being about the same width because they're cross-country ski trails. So they have a great course there, but because of all the brush fires and forest fires in the province, Drayton Valley was not safe to play in because there was an out-of-control fire threatening to move into where the course was. So they had to move it at the last minute to Rundle Park. But Wally, running his, I think, 100th or 101st tournament, I forget, made the change with about 2 days to go, and it sounds like it worked out extremely well. And Rundle's always ready for tournament play, so pulled it off without a hitch. And Greg Gatsky, MP50 qualifiable player, took home the win averaging 11 down at Rundle Park, which is over 1,000 rated
I was gonna
average.
say over
Yeah.
1,000 rated for the average there. That's awesome. That's really
Couple of
really great
10-18
work.
rounds. He was able to beat Mike Heckbert from Grand Prairie by 3 strokes. Jace Barros and Riley Douglas tying at third, two very, very good local players. And Dave Hohalter wins the Hohalter sweepstakes for this tournament, beating his brother Tyler by 2 strokes. Tyler's been beating Dave at a lot of these tournaments lately, so I think probably good for the old Hohalter pride for David coming in fifth there. So nice job by him.
Fun.
He got some trees planted.
It's always fun to see how those guys are doing against each other. So
yeah,
if you haven't met the Hohalters,
yeah, they are 3 individual but equally entertaining, fun, and talented disc golfers.
Yeah.
And in the FPO side, we had a battle that I've been waiting for. Terry Hong and Bailey Wilson. I think Bailey had taken a year off to have a child. Now she's back disc golfing. She was dominating the local scene a couple of years ago, just in her, I think, first year of competitive play, just crushing it. And then Terry Hong, who's been getting better and better all the time, came down to the wire, and Terry Hong took the win by 4 strokes. I believe an OKDS sponsored player. Based out of Edmonton here, formerly Saskatchewan. So congratulations, Terry Hong. She would have beat me at the tournament.
Yeah,
both of them would have beat me at the tournament. So
did you play? You didn't play in this one though.
I did not play in that one.
No. Cherry Ann Brownridge finished in third as well. So isn't she? She's from out east, isn't she?
She's from PDGA says Regina.
Regina. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it's nice to see her come out for this one, and finish third. That's a solid finish. So
most definitely.
Yeah, very cool. This B tier kind of snuck up on me. I've usually been trying to keep ahead of these B tier events, and just so we can give you the information on them. And yeah, this one kind of snuck up on me, and obviously that comes with the territory of missing a couple episodes in the last 4 weeks, so 4 or 5 weeks. So that's bound to happen. So
yeah, we're in full swing in tournament season.
Oh yeah, it's definitely it's nonstop. Speaking of full swing in tournament season, if you are looking to go full swing into some new DiscGolfPark baskets, DiscGolfPark is a unique disc golf course concept developed in Finland in 2005. It is based on the idea of building sports facilities in an environmentally friendly way. DiscGolfPark provides great experiences for players of all skill levels, from beginners to professionals. And our main ideology is to introduce disc golf to new audiences. There are several options to suit any kind of course, and all official disc golf parks include professional and safe course design, DiscGolfPark Pro targets, tee pads and tee signs, and an info board to welcome players to your course. The DiscGolfPark World concept consists of multiple courses designed for different types of players. Multi-golf is a new, fun activity for the whole family, and in multi-golf, 3 forms of golf are played: foot golf, disc golf, and park-style pitch and putt. School DiscGolfPark offers students a new and exciting form of exercise for the physical education classes. A course suitable for schools can be designed even in a small area, for instance, a schoolyard. Furthermore, the costs of school disc golf park are lower than those of regular disc golf parks. We also offer private and group lessons or clinics. For more information, check out the website at discgolfpark.com and request a quote today. Those baskets, they can handle a no Higgins putt on any day. That guy putts hard, so
he should just license himself out to basket manufacturers.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I'm putted baskets and be like, yeah, this one works.
He's a Prodigy sponsored player, but he is, I do know that for a fact that he has a disc golf park basket, because I believe he won it in, I think it might've been a putting competition or something a couple of years
probably
last year. So
before we move on, I also want to catch up on one other thing.
What's that?
They played the BC Junior Disc Golf Championship.
Right. They did.
This last weekend. Luke Levesque won the MJ18. His name popped up at TCO. This isn't a big spoiler alert, but you're going to see his name on the leaderboard at TCO. So promising junior player out of Victoria. Carver Whitford, we've talked about him before, came in second. And then on the FJ18, Zion White, whose name you have probably heard and whose name you will hear again on this podcast, took it down by a bunch of strokes in the FJ18 division. So congratulations,
that's
Zion.
awesome.
Yeah.
The pre-podcast bump for
gotta be. It counts.
I think it counts. Yeah. We are, of course, alluding to a potential episode coming out soon, hopefully, or at some point where she may or may not be a guest. So, as in she may be a guest, as in she will be a guest. So, stay tuned for that.
It's not a big spoiler anymore.
No. All right. What do we got going on the schedule here? We're still waiting for Thomas to come on. You know, he's like we mentioned, he's finishing out a practice round, so he'll join us at any moment now. But before, why don't we get into OTB? Because, you know, it's been a couple weeks since OTB happened, but we do have to go over our boy Max played really well. You know, when we were talking about the preview of this one, I think we said Max was the only Canadian there, and it was one of those situations where he had to rush down to Arizona to go get his rig and then drive it to this one. So, you know, it seems like it did him well. He finished pretty high. You know, he was on the top 10. He was in the top 10 after round 1 or 2. Can't quite remember now. I think it was after round 1. So
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but
great start.
Yeah, really exciting to see him do so well at that tournament. He finished by the end of the tournament. He did finish in 19th place, which is, I think, one of his better finishes of the year. So it's nice to see him playing well.
Yeah.
As far as winners go, we had in the MPO division, we had Emerson Keith taking it down. And, you know, there was actually quite a battle from the chase card with Gannon Burr finishing second with neg 21. It was funny. I was watching the beginning of the final round, and it seemed like it was kind of a 2-man race between Emerson Keith and Aaron Gossage. And Gossage just kind of fell off a little bit, eh?
It was pretty rough.
Yeah, it's really too bad. It's one of those things where, you know, he shows so much potential. You know, you heard his name quite a bit at Worlds last year, showing all this, you know, potential and flashes, and then unfortunately just not able to get it done. But he does finish in third, tied with Isaac Robinson and Cole Redalin. So, yeah, another solid showing for Isaac Robinson and Cole as well. So,
I think wasn't Gannon Burr, like, he wasn't on the chase card. He was on like the 5th card or something.
Yeah, he was like 2 or 3 cards down.
Almost the most insane comeback on the Pro Tour.
Yeah, and obviously Gannon shot. I'm not sure what par was, but he shot a 55 in the last round 3, and I remember looking at his scorecard. You know, they were obviously cutting to him, and it was just like, it was so clean, so nice, lots of birdies. He's just getting work done. So yeah, that was wild, and it was cool to see Emerson Keith win. Definitely. I mean, anytime I talk about Emerson, it's just kind of like, you know, I think he's definitely even shorter than I am, and he's one of those guys that just gives us shorties a fresh look and potential to do well. So if you feel like you don't have the right body type for disc golf, check out Emerson Keith, Paige Pierce, Paige Shue, formerly Paige Bierkus. I mean, I think there's maybe 15 feet of human being combined with the three of them. Totally. That was the whole joke going into this. Of course, spoiling the FPO now, Paige Pierce takes it down, but that was the joke, is that this is the shortest MPO and FPO winners. So, yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, so getting to the FPO, Paige Pierce handily wins this, because she pretty much just had to march it in that final round, because she had a pretty good lead going into the final round.
She looked good, Andre. She looked
really good.
I mean, I think her mentality is in a good place, but also her swing looks like she found it again. There was probably like a year and a half where she didn't look connected. Like her upper body and lower body weren't firing at the same time. Like she's got one of the purest forms in the entire sport when things are clicking well. And for the last couple of years, it's some of the timing's been off. It just I think she's been having some issues hitting fairways because of it. But her swing looked like the old Paige Pierce swing at OTB Open, and I was not surprised to see her finding success.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, and you look at the style, of course, it is a little more open and bomber friendly, but it's just so nice to see her do well again, and hopefully she can keep it up for the rest of the year, because like that second round, that was awesome to watch. It was so cool to see it. I think there was one point she had like a 10 hole birdie streak,
10 in a row, 10 birdies in a row.
Nuts.
Might have even been 11.
I think it got up to 11. It might have. I can't quite remember. It's a couple weeks ago now, but
she was just automatic.
Yeah, it was really awesome to see. So hopefully she keeps it up and keeps it up.
We've kind of talked about it, but like, she got a house, got engaged, got a couple of dogs. Like, it's been a lot of life stuff. But at some point, I mean, Paige Pierce is a competitor. And at some point, she's going to be like, okay, enough of this Kristen Tatar nonsense. Like, you don't just take the crown away. You got to rip it from my cold, dead hands. And I feel like maybe we're swinging back into that territory with Paige Pierce right now.
Yeah, totally. I think so as well. Yeah. Really cool to see. And obviously, I mean, one of the other really cool stories is Owen Scoggins doing so well at what, you would say her putting is her strong suit, and she made up for it. Yeah. I mean, like we've talked about this being a longer course. That's not her game. So to see her do so well on a course like this is absolutely awesome. I mean, same can be said for Emerson on the MPO side as well, right? Like, he's not known for his long arms. So,
I mean, quite literally.
Literally,
he does not have long arms. Yeah. Emerson Keith is a weird dude. His play is so streaky. Like, when he's on, he's got, I would say, equally good backhand and forehand. And when his putting is on, he's draining everything from 50 feet and in with that like really low swinging stroke that he's got. But it's just not always there. It's the highs and the lows of Emerson Keith there's a wide gulf between the two of them.
Yeah, for sure. And he's, going back to, I guess we're going back to MPO for a second here. His putt is a very unique style as well. I mean, it's one of those things where you can say that everyone putts differently, and you look at his putt, and it's definitely quite unique. But it's cool to see a player from, it's a couple weeks in a row with Cat winning out in Jonesboro, and then Emerson here, but Lone Star Discs, their investments are starting to pay off. So,
mm-hmm.
With that, we can kind of jump ahead to Beaver State, because, one of the guys that was doing pretty well at the beginning of this was Nico LaCastro, and, another Lone Star guy. And, he did pretty good in the first round, at least. And, he ended up finishing 7th in this tournament. So, Beaver State is one of those tournaments that a lot of people look forward to. It's really well received. It's historically been really hard to get live coverage of, due to the cellular signal and whatnot. So it was really awesome to see it live this past weekend. And in the MPO division, you had Eagle McMahon taking it down.
I'm not going to call it a podcast bump, but I was mentioning the last podcast how he sort of looks like he's getting back into that Eagle form.
Yeah, it's just, but I mean, it's so funny because he goes from missing cash. I think he missed cash at OTB, didn't he?
Yeah.
And then he goes on and wins this one. So
yeah,
it's really, really awesome to see him do so well.
Yeah, it's going to be scary for everybody. I think it was kind of inevitable, barring, serious ongoing health concerns. Like before he got injured, he was on any given weekend, he was head and shoulders above the rest of the field. And so don't forget about Eagle McMahon. He's still there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, especially there's a lot of tournaments left. So, he could do really well for the rest of the year, especially, you looking ahead to the European Open. He's going to be defending his title out there. So, yeah, be really interesting. Andrew Presnell and Calvin Heimberg finished tied for second at NAIG 28.
Nice job by Prezi. Hey, he's a guy that's not flashy, and there's no aspect of his game that's flashy in any way. He has a unique throw, gets the job done, super consistent. That's why I picked him in the pool. He doesn't really tend to have bad weekends.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we are going to take a pause here because we do have a special guest about to join the podcast. Fresh off, before we bring him in here, we are going to say that this is a spoiler alert because we are going to be talking about the past couple of weeks in a couple of A tiers past few weeks, a couple of A tiers that Thomas has taken part in. So if you are one of those types that are waiting for coverage to find out who won, we kindly ask you to pause the podcast here and come back after you've watched the coverage of those events. And without further ado, we will bring in Thomas Gilbert.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you,
Thomas?
It's always kind of dicey when we're bringing people in mid-show because we never know if the mics are going to work and whatnot. So
how's this TV so far?
Yeah, no, you sound great. You're coming through loud and clear.
Better.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Doing good. I just arrived yesterday in Vancouver, actually, and me and Chance drove down to Cascade Challenge to practice for the Silver Series this weekend.
Awesome. That's that's a pretty quick turnaround because as probably most of our listeners know, you just finished taking part in the Foxwood Open and winning it, taking home the W. So
not winning it, destroying it.
taking it in commanding fashion. So tell us about Foxwood and how that all went for you.
It was great. Yeah, Foxwood was a really good event for me. The course suits my game really well, being just like a pretty open, fairly easy golf course. I played that course ever since it got put in at the very beginning. Daryl helped design the course on that Gulf North property and used my input because I was a teammate of a player at the time and at his fingertips. So he brought me out there to kind of take a look at it. But it was great. My game was on this weekend. My putting was super strong, which is something that I felt like I kind of lacked slightly at TCO. And so bring that all together, I think really put the edge up and let me kind of just destroy the competition instead of making it interesting coming down the stretch.
Yeah.
Well, you could have made it a little interesting for the coverage, but hey, you got to do it. It's your job. So I totally understand.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And you had correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you had some family because that's, you're from Toronto. So you had some family out watching you at Foxwood, right?
Yes, I did. Whenever I have a tournament that's like relatively close to home, and this is probably the closest I'll be all year, I had my parents watching, and my dad likes to caddy for me when he can. And so, yeah, my dad was on the bag. My mom was watching all three rounds, and then my grandma, who has never watched me in a tournament before other than just like coverage from like post production or Disc Golf Network came out and was able to rent a golf cart and follow around along with my cousin who also came out to watch.
That's cool. That's gotta be
And
cool.
they had to bundle her up because that first day was a little bit cold and rainy, right?
Yeah, it sure was. The first day was cold. It didn't really rain too bad. It kind of like misted near the end of the round for the last couple holes, but it was really cold and probably 30, 35 kilometer hour winds with like gusts up to 50. So it was like just pretty bone chilling cold wind.
Yeah.
And do you like playing in front of your parents? Is it more pressure? Is it more comfortable? How do you feel about it?
I would say it was at the beginning. Now I've played enough events where I'm pretty used to it. I would say there's definitely like a little bit of like not pressure, but just like urge to kind of play well. I feel like if I throw like a bad hole, sometimes I'll think and it's all like in my head, but just like, oh, they're like expecting me to do well. I'm the top Canadian. Like I need to be hitting all these shots. Like you need to prove to yourself how good you are. But no, they're all amazed at the shots that I'm able to throw and the things I'm able to do in the tournaments and the amount of fans and people that support me. Like it's awesome for them to see all that too. So it's really fun having them out there at the events.
Yeah, totally. And kind of going back to TCO now, and obviously that would be a pretty far trip and commute for your family. But do you kind of get that same pressure when you're kind of, obviously TCO was quite a bit tighter going down into that third round. Do you get that kind of pressure, and do you kind of have those thoughts in your head even when your family's not around, just generally when things get tight?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely a lot more internal pressure at that point. Like at the beginning of the round, the final round of TCO, like I wasn't really executing shots and I was getting quite frustrated with myself, like, because I wasn't only just making mistakes, but I was making like bad mistakes and they were costing me three strokes, like, given to Max and Casey at the time. And I was like, oh God, I feel this title just slipping out of my fingers. I need to pull myself together and really turn this round around. I think luckily I was able to do that around like hole 7 or hole 8. I think I like maybe had a parred hole 8 and then I think I birdied 9 of the last 10 holes to clutch it up by 2 strokes. But that was huge. I had like a similar moment round 2 at Foxwood. I was 1 over through 8 holes and then birdied 9 of the last 10 holes to finish 8 under. But yeah, there's definitely moments where you just kind of you're not in the groove. You got to snap yourself out of it as soon as you can and just know that there is still scoring opportunities ahead of you.
When you were growing up, did it ever occur to you that one day you would be like the public face of an entire sport for Canada?
No, definitely not. When I first started playing disc golf, I actually, to go back even a little bit further than that, I always wanted to find a sport that I excelled at because to me, just like being at the highest level of competition is like so cool. There's like a lot of sports figures that I just like thought were so great just because like they were able to represent like that. And disc golf was definitely not the sport where I thought that was going to happen. And when I kind of first started playing and started getting good, I was like, this is really cool and really fun, but I'm sure I'm going to hit a wall. It's going to peak at some point and not really push me into like the upper level that I really want to get to. But then I never really hit that wall, and I still feel like I'm still pushing to hit that wall. And like the fact that has taken me to be the player that I am now is like an amazing opportunity. I'm like super grateful to represent the entire country of Canada for disc golf, not only like home in Canada, but also on the pro tour and in different events worldwide for the disc golf pro tour and other tours.
What were your sports when you were growing up? And I apologize, I wasn't here for the first podcast that you guys did. So
Yeah,
if this is old news for everybody, I do apologize.
far. I mean, I did a whole bunch of sports. Like I was really, really big into like competitive swimming for a little while. I tried really hard to do track and field. Like I went to different clubs and meets and on the like provincial level, trying to like move up to the national level, but never really made it past provincials because there was just too many kids that were better than me. And I think like volleyball and badminton and a whole bunch of sports like that. Like I tried and like did more competitive than like the school level, but never was able to like. I always found kids that had higher potential, were way ahead of me in skill level by my age, and so I was like, oh well, keep searching. And then disc golf was one that just like almost within the first couple of months of playing, I felt like I was better than most people that I met, or at least had skill potential of anyone that I met in playing disc golf in Canada. Like within 6 months of playing, I felt like I was able to throw the shots that I see Marty, Kim Scott Wood, Chris Oslin's like throwing. It was just they were doing it on a much more consistent basis than I was. So if I could learn that consistency, then I would be able to compete at their level. And so I knew that like, okay, skills are there. I can do this. Now it's just figuring out how to do it as consistently as possible.
Yeah. Do you think that there will be sort of more Thomas Gilberts coming out of the woodworks as the sport grows in Canada? And
Yeah.
you're still quite young too, aren't you?
Yeah. I'm 23, but I
There you go.
definitely think that there's a lot of young kids that have big potential in the sport. I see more and more every year. Um, and there's like, yeah, like a little local kid at each club that's like going to be the next great. And heck, if they keep their work ethic up, then they definitely have huge potential to be like. I've been amazed at the skill level of some of these kids coming up in the sport. And yeah, the hard part is committing and really putting all of your time and effort into it, because that's what it takes to get up to that peak level that I've pushed myself to. Like it takes a lot of time and commitment, and it's not always fun, but it's really rewarding to push through and see your potential fulfilled if you really stick with it. So I hope these kids stick with it and really see themselves flourish in the sport. But yeah, for now it's a waiting game for me to see who shows up.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point to make because, I think we're kind of on the tail end of this sort of mindset that, this might not necessarily be a professional sport where, you can potentially make a living. And you're obviously
Mm-hmm.
proving that to be the wrong, and that's not the case anymore. This is something that you can commit your life to. But like you said, you have to commit. You're a professional athlete. If you don't treat
Yeah.
your sport like a professional athlete, then you might not have the same success. With that being said, though, you are starting to see, some other Canadians pop down on tour a little bit. Casey kind
Mm-hmm.
of did it a little bit last year. Martin comes down every once in a while, and obviously
Yeah.
Max, friend of the podcast,
Yeah.
this is his second year touring full time. What's it like to have another Canadian on tour, and how do you see that sort of progressing in the years to come too? Do you think more Canadians are going to start coming down?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to commit to like a full-time tour. I definitely think there's like 3 or 4 events that are pretty like ideal to travel to if you're on the west coast of Canada or the kind of like central east like Toronto
Mm-hmm.
GTA type area. I know as well like Manitoba, Calgary, there's a few events that are like just down south of the border that they can probably get to as well. And choosing like a couple of those events each year, maybe 1 or 2 events that you can fly down to for a fun week or two and play like an elite event or two, is going to be great. I think we see more and more of those kind of people joining each year, and I really hope that we can see someone that can commit like a a whole entire summer or something like that to the tour, because I did that for probably 4 years where I was using my school summers to compete full time. And I think there's a lot of these younger kids that are going to be able to possibly do that if they want to commit to it. But I think as well, I was quite fortunate for like the timing of my my commitment to the tour, because I was just finishing up high school when I was turning professional, and so I was able to really give it a good try because I knew I was like able to go to college and do all that afterwards if it didn't work out, and it worked out pretty decently kind of between high school and university, but and that made me commit to doing it throughout the summers and even a little bit throughout the school year. But yeah, I think hopefully more of these young players will take that same opportunity if they have it.
Mm-hmm.
We had a chat out in BC about the Canadian Disc Golf Tour, which you had no idea that you were the leading points getter in the Canadian Disc Golf Tour right now. Where we talked a little bit about it and how you could use a stepping stone from playing local tournaments to playing at the highest professional level. You mentioned that you got to go out and learn from people like Chris Oz and Marty Handel and Kim Scott Wood. How important was that to be able to see firsthand what elite disc golf looked like early in your journey, like to sort of set that frame of reference for you?
I think it was a really good reference point, because just to see the skills in person put a lot of perspective, because when you're just watching it on coverage, it can kind of look like they're doing impossible things. But seeing it in person, especially like seeing the mistakes that pros can make, it's like, oh yeah, they're human. They can mess up just as bad as I do sometimes. It's just about trying to learn how to do the good things as much as they do as well. And so that really just kind of helped me kind of get a fixed point of like what skill level would be required to be at their level in the future, and gave me a point to like work towards. So I was like, okay, I've seen them make these types of putts. I need to get my putting level better than that. I've seen them hit these gaps and get this amount of distance, controlled distance on these types of holes. I need to try to get better than that. And I am saying better than that instead of to that, because obviously I want to push to be the best. That's kind of my own personal like ego, I guess. I want to try to push myself to be the best, and because I also know that there are so many players that are better than me at certain skills, and they're the best at them. And so just trying to strive towards that like is a really tall task. But if I can try to just improve as much as I can and strive to always be better than like I need to be, I think then you'll have bigger potential for yourself in the future, because you don't want to necessarily be like, I don't need to get to this point because then I'll be just as good. Like you want to always, if you can be better, strive to be better, because that'll help you in the future.
I don't think wanting to be the best at something is ego. I think thinking you're the best at something when you're not the best at something is ego. I think wanting to be the best is the opposite.
That's drive.
Yeah. Were any of those players like, did anybody do some mentoring for you, or did you get too good too fast and they could already see you like nipping at their heels in the tournaments?
I think a lot of it wasn't necessarily like throwing skills. Like not very much was taught like throw wise, but I think strategy, like course management, choosing like a game plan, playing within your skills, like a lot of those skills that help you be able to attack a course the best way for your own game was super, super important, because I could have just been one of those kids that tries to throw the absolute most aggressive shot on every hole, gets frustrated by kicking a million trees that I'm not skilled enough to miss, and kind of like burn out of the game. But watching them dissect these courses, figure out these game plans, choose smart shots definitely helped a huge amount for learning how to play strategically to win and also play on like the highest level was very important. So I think a lot of times people think like, oh yeah, he learned how to hit backhand gaps or he learned how to do this type of shot from these players. But I think way more so it's the strategy of the game that you learn instead of the actual throwing.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that you find you're able to easily pass on to some of the younger players that you play with on a regular basis? Or is it just kind of, obviously you're really busy on the road, so you
Yeah.
might not get those same opportunities, but is that something that comes easily to you? Do you like teaching and
Yeah,
passing those skill sets?
definitely. Yeah, I really enjoy the feeling of being able to teach someone something that helps them realize that they can improve a part of their game. So whether that's like at a clinic or something, people have an aha moment. It's like, oh, that thing that he just said, that's what like hasn't been clicking for me. I don't understand this part of my game, and that makes so much sense. That I love that. That's like one of my favorite moments of watching people's faces, like go like, whoa, oh, that makes so much sense. Like that's such a good feeling. But then as well, playing with players and just like yeah, giving little recommendations or just like thoughts on course management or shot shaping or different things that can kind of help them is also super rewarding. I think it's a little more difficult than trying to like explain a part of like form because people can all kind of relate to form, but I think me giving advice on the course kind of more depends on where they're at in the game because I need to kind of understand their skill level a little bit to give them the right kind of advice. Because if they're like, let's say an AM2 player, a lot of the times it'll be how to play for par, throwing shots that'll get you in good positions to get up and down for par. Where if I'm playing with another MPO player with like a similar skill level to mine, then I'm teaching them or trying to like give little suggestions of what shapes to throw the holes to most easily get a birdie or make the gap the biggest or uh, give yourself like an easy landing zone. And so like it's different for different skill levels, but definitely applicable. And I like kind of breaking down that process too for different types of people when I'm playing with them.
Mm-hmm. So, obviously when you come back to Canada and you take down these A tiers, it obviously feels really good and whatnot. What do you take back with you when you go on tour? Because, the tour is a different animal. It's, the competition's that much fiercer and, what does it take? What's the difference between, the A tier in Canada and, an elite series, event?
I would say mostly the stress level is just a lot higher because the courses they are a little tougher. They definitely like require some higher skill level shots. Like the gaps are a little bit tighter, longer. You have to keep the disc a little bit straighter moving, or like move your shot through a gap like a little bit later in the fairway or something.
Mm-hmm.
Landing zones can be a little bit tighter too on tour, but for the most part, it's just confidence because when I come home and I play in Canada, my confidence goes to like an all-time high. Not only just because I'm playing well at the courses, but just I don't know, coming home and seeing and meeting all the people that support me and like idolize my game, it just completely boosts up my confidence and my morale of disc golf. Like I get so much more pumped to throw good shots, execute the shots, so people get really excited for them, and that helps me with my level of execution too on the course. And then I feel like that overall helps my game on tour. Like this course here, if I played it 2 months ago when I was like kind of shaky in my game a little bit, my gap hitting skills did not feel at their strongest.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this course would have eaten me alive. There is a ton of really tight wooded gaps on this course, and I feel like I would have been just struggling to make sure I went through the first one. But
Right.
now after 3 weeks of playing back home, I feel like better about my shot shaping abilities, better about my gap hitting, and overall like better that I'm going to make the putts from wherever I end up landing. My scramble feels good, so like I think just overall the confidence boost of being back home and getting just the boost of energy from the crowds, the fans, the family, like everything like that just helps me be a stronger player after I come back from those events.
So it was fun to watch you in person because you are so good with all the fans that were coming up to you before a round, after a round. And I mean, in the big scheme of things, I know you're young, so maybe you don't appreciate that this is a very short period of time, but it was not that long ago that you would have been one of those kids going up to a pro that was coming through town and, you know, seeing if they had a disc for sale and asking for an autograph. What's that transition period been like, and was it difficult for you? Like, are you an introverted person and you sort of had to learn to put yourself out there? Was it pretty easy and comfortable? How was that dealing with people that know who you are and sort of want to talk to you and meet you and get a disc and get a signature?
Yeah, it was pretty fun to like have that transition because I remember obviously when I was a young kid just excited to play disc golf and meet any kind of big disc golfer. Like it was a very cool thing. Like even today, I played a practice round with Eagle McMahon, and he was the first pro I ever got a signature from. And like I just remembered that moment on the course today, and now I'm just a friend of Eagle playing a practice round. And so like that transition has been really really cool to become one of those types of players myself. But it was definitely a little bit interesting at first. I think the first couple times people started doing it, like luckily it was a slow enough transition where um, it would just slowly kind of build up from like people at league would be like, oh hey Thomas, like how's it going? You gonna come and kill the course today? To now going to like any course in Canada and like having a few people come up to me per round, be like, "Hey man, like so awesome to see you playing here. Like we love watching you on the tour. Like kill it, man. Rooting for you." And I would say I was a little bit of an introverted person, but I think just like also understanding how excited a player can be just to have that small opportunity to like meet and interact with a fan or like a player is really helps me like be more comfortable with it because I can remember back to how excited I was to just talk and get a signature from Eagle McMahon back in 2016 or no, back in 2017 when I first met him. And if I can do that same sort of thing for other people, like why would it ever be a problem? That's such a cool thing to be able to make someone's day like that just by being able to have like a small friendly conversation, take a signature, do whatever. So I think it's definitely helped to also have that perspective, but overall it's like it's just a fun moment to have a fan interaction.
It was great to watch, and you are sort of one of the unusual athletes in that you're sort of universally loved, like men, women, boys, girls, you know, grandparents. It's hard to find somebody that's not a Thomas Gilbert fan. And you signed a lot of TSA discs at that skins tournament, which we're not going to spoil the skins tournament results because it's not public yet, but you signed a lot of TSA discs. How has your transition to the TSA molds been going, and what are some of the TSA molds that you've been relying on, and what are some discs that maybe people haven't tried out from the lineup that they should be throwing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, overall the transition into my new bag has been pretty awesome. I honestly kind of overwhelmed myself a little bit at the very beginning of the season because of the opportunity to throw all of new TSA's new discs, but as well the opportunity to also throw a mixed bag. I was kind of trying to see what everything there was to offer. And I think that was kind of ambitious because there's so much stuff to try that I was kind of like I was getting confused on what discs would actually suit my game better. And so I kind of toned it back a little bit, stuck to some of the stuff that I knew, and that seemed to help a lot. And then throughout the season, like if someone introduced me to a new disc, I'll try it and try to integrate it in my bag then. But doing it all at once at the very beginning of the year was pretty overwhelming. But some of the TSA molds that I've been really, really enjoying, the Pathfinder obviously is like a staple in the TSA lineup. The Praxis is another one that's I've been really enjoying as my approach putter. Also, the Temple is like a nice little overstable approach disc that they came out with. Obviously, my Coalesce I have made like my go-to fairway / distance driver because it's so controllable and so usable between like 350 all the way up to like 450 for myself. That it's been great, and I've like really enjoyed learning that disc and trusting it because it's such a good disc for my arm speed that it's been really fun to learn and use more and more this year. But then as well, a few of the other discs, Omen, Vodum, and the Mantra has been like some of the ones that have been in the bag this year that I've been just enjoying to use. Like honestly, the TSA plastic feels super super nice, and it's been like pretty nice and easy to transition and trust these new discs, and been a fun process learning what possibilities there are with them as well in the future.
Yeah, and I'm a TSA. I've always been a TSA fan, but I'm curious. What's your favorite plastic? What's the favorite plastic of choice?
I would say I really enjoy the Aura plastic. I think that just kind of the grippiness feel is really nice. It's kind of like that nice stiffer star plastic that
Yeah.
I really enjoyed from Innova. Um, and as well, I think like honestly, the Ethos is like a really good champion or like Sea Line up to whatever kind of you call it, the see-through plastic.
Yeah.
It also just has like a really nice feel to it. The grippiness of it. I kind of do like a slightly grippier feeling plastic, and that's kind of like TSA's jam. It almost feels like,
Totally.
and so I've felt super comfortable switching over to all their plastics that they manufacture. So it's been good.
All right, and then going back to your you mentioned that you tried out a whole bunch of different discs. Maybe what's your favorite non-TSA disc not named the Destroyer?
Well, you were probably spot on with my first choice. I would say, honestly, the Sexton Firebird that I have in my bag, the 2015 run of it, I just had it seasoned so perfectly, and being able to put that back in my bag, the immediate trust with it was super nice. So just having that slot back in as well was
Nice.
super good, and yeah, that's been a really nice disc to use this year.
Good.
Andre, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I don't know if you have it right behind you or not, but we were lucky enough to get a disc signed by one Thomas Gilbert while we were in BC, and we will be giving that away on the social media in the next, I would say, in the next week as we release some coverage. Thomas on it. So looks like maybe Andre has found this disc. So while we do that, Thomas, I know it's up on the screen, but for our audio listeners, where's the best place for people to follow you, first of all?
Yeah, probably right there, Thomas Gilbert 54 on Instagram. that's going to be the number one spot that I probably post most of my content. I'm hoping to get the YouTube channel going again. It's kind of tough to have the time to film and edit everything on the tour. I know a lot of the guys that do it. I don't know how they do it, but they're pretty good and have like a good crew of camera guys and editors that are able to put together some really cool content. But yeah, probably Facebook and Instagram is like number one spot to see my stuff.
Cool. And that was a signature disc of yours, right? Your name is stamped on the thing. So tell us about that disc.
Yes. So I believe that was Coalesce, and yeah, that was
I'll
a
play it
really
up one more
cool
time.
stamp that we collaborated on, and I think it turned out really, really, really well. That is the Nebula Ethereal Coalesce, and yeah, got my good old signature right there on the top, and definitely been a staple in my bag ever since I got them. So hopefully it will be a staple in someone's bag, or maybe a centerpiece on their wall. Who knows?
There you go.
Yeah, they look sick. And yeah, stay tuned for our on our socials and on Thomas's socials as well. We'll be giving that away to one lucky winner real soon.
Totally.
Yes.
All right. I kind of want to get back to the Canadian Disc Golf Tour. Being a Canadian, is this something that you've thought about in the past? You know, I don't want to bring this up, but we don't need you to toot our horn. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, obviously Matt and I are working really hard to get this going, and there's going to be growing pains along the way. But is this something that you think Canada needs? And yeah, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that's kind of been long overdue. I think just the talent pool of Canadians has risen so much that um, starting a Canadian tour is something that has needed to happen, and I'm so excited that the Canadian Disc Golf Tour is finally coming into the scene. I think there's a whole bunch of events all across the country that are going to be really accommodating for the Canadian Disc Golf Tour because they are just so established in their areas. But bringing them all together and starting a tour where people can start to travel and really see what they're made of on the Canadian tour, and then kind of get an understanding, kind of like I did in the early days with Kim and Marty and Oz, just like seeing how you stack up against the best of the best is going to be a really cool thing for people to kind of gauge their level in the game and hopefully be able to give themselves confidence to really maybe go big and full time on the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things we're hoping to accomplish with it is make it sort of that stepping stone for players to get onto the Pro Tour. And you know, part of that is also obviously the coverage that we'll be coming out with. And you know, you weren't here when we mentioned it earlier on this episode that coverage of TCO was actually coming out this coming week. So we'll be
awesome.
releasing it periodically throughout the week. We're going with the weekday release.
Okay.
And
Great.
yeah, what do you think I mean, obviously you've had, being out east, there's been a little bit of coverage out there, but what do you think it means to have, you know, coverage of these events as well?
I think it's great. I think it's something that's super necessary to just get the exposure for the Canadian disc golf scene as well, because that's actually kind of how I first started finding Kim and then Marty, and then eventually I heard of Oz, and I messaged Kim within like 4 months of playing disc golf, I think, because when I searched Canada disc golf in YouTube search bar, the only thing I found was one video of the 2014 Timmel with him, Will Schustrick, Simon Lizotte, and Ricky Wysocki, and I was like, "That's it. That's the Canadian I need to go find and see." And like, because there was just one round of one event, and that was it. And so I had to go and find in person what the best Canadian could do, and then eventually, yeah, Marty popped up on a few different pieces of coverage, a few in the States, but having the opportunity to just watch the top Canadian disc golf tournaments on Parked Pro will be so helpful for anybody who's curious what we can do on these courses that they're playing on, and seeing the lines and the shots that we're throwing and being able to kind of size themselves up against our games will be a really fun thing, I think, for a lot of people to be able to see. So having the coverage is super awesome.
It's something that everybody talks about when they're learning the sport is, man, I wonder what it would be like to see a pro play on this course. I think everybody has had that exact same thought wherever you are, wherever you play. So we're going to try and bring that experience to you. If you live in Kamloops or you live near Baden, Ontario, and you think, man, I'm pretty good at this course, I wonder how Thomas Gilbert would do at it. Well, you're going to find out. And the answer is better than you.
Yeah.
So you're obviously leading the points series now with your 2 wins. We're going to have the standings will be updated on our website within the week.
Okay.
If this comes down to the wire, obviously you're going to be, I've heard you're going to be at Canadian Nationals. Is that correct?
Yep. Canadian Nationals, and I think there's another AT or 2 at the very end of the season that I'll be attending as well.
Gotcha. Falcons Fighter, Gold Eagle, something like that.
Other one that's, I think, confirmed to be on the Canadian Disc Golf Tour.
Cool. Awesome. Glad to hear it. I was going to say, if it comes down to the wire and we're in the last event and, you know, you're not quite at the top of the leaderboard because someone managed to make it to all the other events, are you going to come up and play in that final event to take down the title?
It'll have to see, because I mean, it'll be definitely, if it's really close, I definitely want to nudge myself over the edge to stay number 1. It kind of depends on what weekend it's on, because I know there's a lot of really big tournaments kind of happening all at that same time. There's the Elite Plus events on the Pro Tour. There's the playoff events, which are, I think, worth 150% of the points for the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
Yes.
As well as the World Championships and the Pro Tour finale and USCGC. So we'll see what the schedule feels like at the end of the year and how close I am to taking down the Canadian Disc Golf Tour. But I would definitely like to see myself at the top at the end of the season.
Well, I can tell you this right now. I have all of the events. All of the events in front of me right now, and you'd have to miss out on the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship to make the final event. So I guess we'll see.
We don't want to influence you too much, but I would go to if you qualify for the Disc Golf Pro Tour event, I think that might be the right choice for you, Thomas. So.
Yeah.
I think it's a guaranteed $3,000 minimum cash pay. So that'd be hard to pass up.
Yes. Awesome. Cool. I don't have any more questions. I don't know if you got anything else you want to ask Thomas there, Matt?
Yeah. Before we let you go, where do you have a retail partner that you're working with in Canada, right?
Yes. Disc Republic. They're based out of, I believe, Manitoba. But they're really awesome. They have a huge online store. Tons of stuff available. Obviously, all of my TSA products, as well as some of my other products like goat towels and other things that are coming out, but as well as a huge selection of every other brand you could probably possibly think of. So definitely check out their website and their store. Check out their shop if you're local to the area. They're really cool, and Jason, their owner, is really pushing to grow and expand Canadian disc golf from the retail side. So it's awesome, and yeah, definitely check them out if you can.
Yeah,
awesome.
Disc Republic. I got an order from them. Their online turnaround time was super fast. They have a big selection. Their service was really good. So yeah, if you haven't checked them out yet, Disc Republic might be another source for you. So, and they got that Thomas Gilbert action.
Yeah, they got that exclusive Thomas Gilbert.
Heck yeah. And then so you're heading out to Cascade Challenge, and then I assume you're playing at the Portland Open after that, right?
Yep, that's right. Played final practice round for Cascade today, and then tournament starts tomorrow. I think I tee off at like 11:50. But then yeah, this Silver Series, and then drive down to Portland on Monday and get ready for the Portland Open.
Cool. And what's the next big event that you're really looking forward to? Like what's one of the events on tour here coming up in the next couple of months here that you're really excited to get out and play?
I would say the next biggest one is probably just heading out to Europe. I think there's 2 Elite Series in between Portland Open and Europe, but Europe is definitely like, I'm so excited to get back out there and play these tournaments. Like, just the scene in Europe is so, like, it's not more developed, but it's different. Like, I was kind of telling, I think you guys about this a little bit at TCO, but the amount of players there is just insane who know about disc golf, and then the amount of kids is crazy. You go play casual round at any course out there in the Scandinavian countries, and you're going to find that more than half of them are children that are out there playing courses after school, just doing that as their after school sport because it's so popular out there. And that to me is like, it's so cool because we don't just have that quite yet here in North America. But yeah, very excited to go watch or go play in some European disc golf tournaments and as well have people watch that coverage.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, we can't wait to follow along from home here, Thomas. Before we let you go, is there anything else you want to say to your Canadian fans?
Just thank you so much for supporting me on tour. Your messages, your support, your interactions are all extremely meaningful and yeah, boost me up to play on the tour. Check out TSA if you haven't yet. They have some really cool discs on the site and some more coming out here pretty soon. So yeah, check them out and just thank you all for having me on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for coming on. We really appreciate it. It's
course.
you're always welcome. So just hit me up on Instagram whenever you you got something to say. So
All right. Sounds good. I'll let you know.
all right.
Awesome. Thanks, Thomas.
Thanks, Thomas.
All right.
Good luck tomorrow.
Yes.
All right, everyone. That was Thomas Gilbert. Thank you so much, Thomas, for coming on. We're kind of wrapping up the episode here, and we did where we left off on the Beaver State Fling, and we just had one more thing to bring up, and that was Jen Allen taking. We brought it up at the beginning of the episode, but we wanted to get back to this because Jen Allen takes down the Beaver State Fling on the FPO side. She shoots an ace on the very first shot
It was crazy.
of her third round. It was crazy. It was awesome to see. And yeah, what a blast that was. It was a cool round to watch. And even with the ace, that third round with Holland Hanley, it was so tight at the end. Holland, like, she shot so well, and it's really nice to see her do so well. So
Man, could you imagine if we ever got a final round ace on camera, Andre? Holy cow, that would be the most exciting thing ever.
Yeah, that would be
It's the
incredible.
stuff that dreams are made out of.
Yeah. Hey, TCO's coming out this coming.
Yeah, check out our coverage. Hashtag. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm so excited to release it and see it.
And we
you're
just
going to be pleasantly surprised.
I think we just, talking to Thomas, it brings all that back. And, the nice thing for us is, we were at TCO and editing it. You obviously, I don't know if not everyone knows the process, but Matt takes the brunt of the editing process. And then I kind of try to come in and clean it up after he does his first pass. And then we kind of do one more go on that and then go from there. And, it's just,
and you do all the fun creative stuff that's I think gonna probably surprise people the most. And
I hope so. Like we said, we spent a lot of time in the off season developing it, so I'm very excited about it. Not just the presentation, but obviously the competition's awesome. So it's gonna be great. So
yeah. I didn't even get to talk about my new favorite disc golfer, so that'll be a teaser for next week. I have a story. Andre may or may not know what I'm talking about, but I have a story. Maybe we'll wait till Jesse's back on because I have a new favorite disc golfer. Sorry, Thomas Gilbert. Sorry, Nate Sexton. Sorry, Calvin Heimberg. Sorry, Paul Macbeth, Owen Scoggins. Yeah, none of you can compete with my new favorite disc golfer, and the name might surprise you.
All
We'll
right.
we'll talk about that next week.
Right. No, I think I know who you're talking about. There we go.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I think we've been going for an hour and a half. I just want to say thanks again. I don't know if Thomas will listen back to this, but we always appreciate having Thomas on. And I was gonna say I forgot to mention this earlier too. They're not our they're friendly competition. Thomas actually just had an episode. I think he was just on the Flight Pass Disc Golf recently as well. So
they're just our friends. We don't have to call them competition.
Well, I mean, yeah. Sorry, our friendly podcast. There you go. So go check that out. Actually, Jen Allen was on their episode, a recent episode. I still have to catch up on that one, but
so they could claim podcast bump for themselves too. But you know what? We talked to Jen Allen more recently, so
yes, exactly. Yeah. And there you go.
Yeah, check out that episode. It was it's an emotional one.
Yeah, it's on my list. It's in my queue.
Yeah.
So, all right, everyone. I don't know if do you have anything else you want to say there, Matt?
Man, thanks everybody for your patience, and we're gonna try and, like Andre was saying, turn around coverage faster and faster as we go on. But please check out the TCO coverage when it comes out. Just check out the first round. We got some fun surprises in store for you, and if you like it, for the love of God, tell somebody about it. And if you don't like it, keep it to yourself, because word of mouth is killing us sometimes out here.
No, it's all good.
I'm just kidding.
All
check it out. Tell your friends.
Publicity, right?
This is like promoting video coverage is a whole lot of work. Promoting a new tour that we're trying to get off the ground and get buy-in from people is a lot of work. So tell your disc golfer friends, hey, these guys are trying to get something going here, and
really cool.
When we release the coverage, share it with them and say, hey, this is the quality of coverage that you can watch high level Canadian disc golf in a good quality presentation. It's fun. So please, everyone who has been doing that, we can't thank you enough. We see you. When we're too busy to be posting something on Facebook and somebody says, hey, these guys have got this interview online, like that means an unbelievable amount to us. So, we see it and we appreciate it. And anybody else, they can help out, spread the word, man, it goes a long way. So thank you everybody if you're listening to this, it means you're listening to this. So thank you.
Yeah.
And
And then I just want to say thank you to first of all, DiscGolfPark so much for sponsoring this, Matt. He's been a strong supporter for us for a while. And then also our patrons. Patrons go a long way into making, this podcast and our coverage happen. So, it's one of those things. You look at companies like Jomez, the patron community that they have is a huge part of it. And, as our patron community grows, we will put more effort into making it even more worth to our patrons. But as of right now, it's a way for people to support us, and however minor or major financial contributions that you can send our way, we appreciate it all. That will allow us to take more time off of our regular jobs to get this coverage out faster. So if you have the extra cash, please, by all means, sign up for Patreon, patreon.com/parkpro. It's as little as $1.50 a month. You just
$5 a month. What? How many lattes is $5 a month? Less than one.
Yes, there you go.
Less than one latte a month, and it's like maybe that seems insignificant to you, but to us, it means more than you'll ever understand. So,
yes.
Yeah.
And actually, I think we did actually have a couple new patrons sign up over the last little while. So, We really
yeah.
appreciate, our patrons that have been with us for a while. Let's see. We actually had Hayden Logan is a new $5 patron. So we really appreciate that. There we go. Thanks, Hayden. And thank you to the rest of our patrons. That's it for me. Matt, take us out?
From all of us here at Parked Pro, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, do it lots.
All right.
Classic sign off, baby.